Already arrived in the room. Do you want to introduce yourself? Tell something about yourself. Why are you here? What is it that you're looking from the session? Anybody who wants to start?
In the chat window, please.
Okay, I don't see any chats coming. Okay, Abhijit is from Pune. Would you like to introduce yourself in the chat box, Abhijit? And Divya, I'll wait for you. Just let me know when we can get started and we'll move on.
I'd say let's get started now, Ruchita, because we're a minute over the time. As you know, we have 1 hour and some of our speakers have other appointments that they need to rush off to. So let's respect that time and get started.
Okay, sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ruchita Tandon, the Chief Growth Officer at Aspire for Her. And I think by now all of you know that at Aspire for Her, we have a mission and vision of getting 1 million women in the workforce additionally by 2025. Impact for us is very simple. It's a 3E model of employment, entrepreneurship, or education that leads to one of the two. Today, we are excited to welcome you all for the launch of a pioneering HumSafal Accelerator program, which will empower aggregator enterprises to thrive in today's competitive online world, ensuring sustainable livelihoods and the preservation of traditional crafts and techniques. We all know that aggregator enterprises support thousands of small and micro entrepreneurs, artisans, and rural producers across India by offering platforms that amplify their reach and sales. These organizations facilitate access to markets and buyers often beyond local boundaries, enabling small-scale producers and creators to sell their products and earn a good living. Before I move on, I'd like to share a few housekeeping rules. We are all joining virtually over here, so I'll request everyone to keep themselves on mute. Whatever questions you have, keep a pen and paper ready and note it down. And towards the end, we will be taking up the questions. Kindly be respectful. We are all in an online mode, and it is possible that some of us might lose our connection, but we'll be there soon. With this, I am going to move forward and invite our founder and CEO, Madhura Das Gupta Sinha, to share a few words. Over to you, Madhura.
Thank you so much, Ruchita. It's indeed my pride and privilege to welcome all of you to a very special launch today, the launch of HumSafal. HumSafal is a very unique program that we are launching for our entrepreneurial community. As all of you know, at Aspire for Her, we have taken a pledge. The pledge to add 1 million women to the workforce by 2025. And 2025 suddenly seems just around the corner. But Aspire for Her cannot grow if we just look at job seekers. We also have to look at job creators. And the HumSafal project gives us a beautiful opportunity to impact the lives of many such job creators. HumSafal is not just an accelerator, it is an accelerator for aggregators. And we will do this with a focus on those who work with women in the far corners of our country. We will ensure that they get digital enablement and they get all other resources to scale up their businesses and ensure that their dreams get translated to reality. I'm super thrilled to have Divya Sampath to lead this program. And it is absolutely an honor for us to do this with the Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship GAME. You will hear their name a lot. And today they're represented here by Ketul Acharya, their CEO, and Poulomi, who has been the true wind beneath our wings to conceptualize and launch this program. Thank you, Poulomi. Thank you, Ketul. And thank you to the wonderful GAME team for making this happen. When we started thinking of this program, we wanted to get inspirations from real life inspirations from our network to come and talk to the community that's congregated here to hear about this very unique HumSafal program. And who better than Ajaita, Apurva, and Yosha to actually tell their stories of how, in their everyday work, they are impacting millions and millions of women across the country. Women in food, women artisans, and of course, women who are creating solar lamps and changing and lighting up lives across the far parts of the country. Ajaita, special thank you to you for joining us from a different time zone. And of course, both Yosha and Apurva are no strangers to our community. They have always supported Aspire for Her in multiple ways. And we are really, really happy to welcome them back yet again. You'll see a lot of personalities here throughout the course of the program, but today is just the first day, the beginning of a new chapter. Thank you very much for joining us and for ensuring that this is indeed an exciting journey that we are all embarking on. With that, I welcome you once again, and I hand over to Ketul, the CEO of the Global Alliance of Mass Entrepreneurship, GAME. Ketul, a few words from your side.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Madhura. First of all, I'm really humbled to be here. I just realized that I'm the odd one out amongst all the women leaders on the panel, and I'm really, really humbled to be part of this wonderful initiative. And so glad, so happy that finally all of our discussions, what we have been having over the last few months, have been fructified. We launched it, and now we are getting on ground. So really, really excited. Little bit about GAME as somebody who would not know about GAME and hear about GAME would interpret it very differently. Maybe I'll take 2 minutes to share about GAME and what we are trying to do. So GAME, as you mentioned, Madhura mentioned, it stands for Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship. And all of you who are entrepreneurs who would know that any healthy economy, if you pick up any healthy economy, is one where the nano entrepreneurs are converting to micro, micro are converting to small, small are converting to medium, and medium are converting to large, growing to large. And this is a continuous phenomena, and this in turn becomes the engine of job creation. But if you look at India in a context, and of course with its complexity of population, and likewise, all of you would know there are 63 million small and medium enterprises that exist. But 95%, if you look at, employ less than 5 people, and only 2% employ greater than 10 people. And if you now look at women entrepreneurs, there are hardly 5% women entrepreneurs who end up employing greater than 5 people. So what is the challenge? Of course, our geography, our kind of number of people who are working age. Apart from that, if we internalize the problem, our analysis is that for number one problem is, I think, the growth orientation or the mindset of entrepreneurs. Number two is, of course, capital, especially if you're a solopreneur or a small entrepreneur, how do you access the capital? And number three is, with global economy opening up and opened up, how do we access the market? And that's what one of the challenges we are trying to address through this initiative in collaboration with Aspire for Her. So GAME is what GAME is trying to do. So our vision is that how do we enable a thriving entrepreneurship ecosystem by working on the systemic barriers that exist, whether it is on access to market, whether it is on access to credit, whether it is growth orientation, and likewise, and by bringing in the stakeholders who really matters. What do I mean by that? So you heard, I said GAME stands for Global Alliance. So alliance is the key word, and that's what you are seeing in the panel today. All of us, so we are an alliance who are trying to focus on one problem, and then of course we are trying to address through multiple solutions. And one of the solutions is what we are launching today in collaboration with Aspire for Her. And I think alliance is extremely important, especially when we are solving or looking at a complex problem for like entrepreneurship. Job creation is by no means very simple problem in Indian context. And why it is so important, why alliance is so important. So if you look at the people who are going to speak today, and when you hear, you will know that what kind of resources, what kind of knowledge, what kind of information all of us would bring in. It is impossible for one individual, one institution to kind of bring on board. And that is why, as we say, outcome of collective is greater than sum of parts, right? And that's what we are trying to do today. Little bit on, of course, my colleague Poulomi will speak on the program, but I just want to also, since a lot of you may not know, one of our focus area which we have taken up on game is how do we kind of enable more and more women entrepreneurs to come into existence, and how do we enable growth of existing women entrepreneurs. And we have picked up few areas where we as game want to focus on. One is, of course, the access to market piece through the digital market platform linkage, as what we are discussing today. And then there are several other areas which we are focusing, which is how do we enable access to credit, solve that issue challenge for them. How do we collectivize women entrepreneurs and then again bring them on one platform to solve some of the issues? How do we help enable solve some climate and some other vulnerability issues that women entrepreneurs would be facing? And I'm sure someday during the course we'll get that platform to share more about it. But today I'm really excited to kind of launch this program formally along with Aspire for Her. And this would not have been possible, of course, Madhura, with you, Divya, and your entire team's support, brainstorming, designing, and then finally reaching to this stage. And of course, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who have been the supporter, partner, collaborator in co-creating this. So really excited. I don't want to take much more time. I'm sure a lot more to hear about the program. And thank you so much for making me part of this. And congratulations to the entire AFH team and of course all of us for launching this today, and look forward to meaningful outcomes together. Thank you, Madhura, for this wonderful platform. And I hand it over again to you, Ruchita, to conduct the next session.
Thank you so much, Ketul. And while I was hearing you, one thing I realized, I really feel proud to be a part of Aspire for Her, because we have a woman entrepreneur who set it, and we are more than 5 employees for sure. We are very close to the 35 mark, and we hope on growing year by year. So yes, I do understand what you mentioned. And actually for the rest of the audience, I think, hearing entrepreneur, job creators, game, HumSafal, it must be so exciting. But what is all this? We're just going to hear about from all our speakers slowly. With that, I would like to invite two of the folks here on the stage, and without them, this wouldn't have been possible. So I'm going to invite Poulomi Pal and Megha Jain to please come over. Poulomi, over to you first.
Thank you so much, Ruchita. And it's always lovely to always see you smiling and the way you talk and present. I genuinely enjoy it. I think that makes all of us feel very welcome and very, very excited to speak. Thank you so much, Ketul. I think he did most of the tough job by speaking about game, because most of the time what an alliance organization does, how we are doing, it's very complex to understand. I think he just simplified and set the ball rolling. I would like to speak a little bit about this particular program. And the program that we are doing, HumSafal, with Aspire for Her, is actually a part of a larger ambit. So Women Economic Empowerment is the program under which HumSafal is one of the streams that we are doing. There is a history, or there is a reason for which we are executing this program. I think you people are hearing a lot of word about accelerator, digital platform economy. And I think this is what is also the ambit of this program. Under this program, we are working not only with women entrepreneurs, but we are also trying to enable or work and accelerate women entrepreneurs to be successful on platform economy marketplace, because that's a very different designing of marketplace at the end of the day. There is also a thought behind why we chose digital platform economy. We understand mobility is a constraint for women, and we, as Madhura says, that we would not want to compromise on ambitions. And that's precisely the reason where technology and digital connections plays a role. But we also understand that participation comes through handholding, through cooperation, through continuous inputs. And HumSafal is all about that. So I think the name says it's HumSafal. It's like all of us together stand to be successful, and that is the ethos of this program. I'm looking forward to this program eagerly, not only to see Aspire for her success, because I don't think Madhura any longer needs to prove anything, but to be connected with a large gamut of women entrepreneurs that we will meet across this program and what they will cascade down to the community, because each one of them are reaching out to thousands of other women in community. And I think that is what we want to envisage on this program. So it's a cascaded effort. It's like reaching out and making each one suffer, and that's like a fission fusion reaction, right? That happens. And needless to say, extremely grateful to the Gates Foundation for supporting and holding us in this program. They are the key funding partners for which we have done this program, and it's the guardrails that has come to the program which also pushed us to ideate, innovate, bring in the partners like you all onto this. I would not waste much time into speaking, and people who know me knows that if I start speaking, hardly I stop. So I think I will stop at this point in time, and thank you so much for the invitation, Divya and Madhura. And once again, I want to iterate that it's so energetic and exciting to be working with a team of women. And we were just speaking a little bit, earlier, that whenever we have seen that it's women in decision-making position, I think a whole lot of energies get unlocked and a whole lot of magic happens. So I'm waiting for the magic to unfold. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Poulomi. Do we have Megha here?
Yes, Ruchita, I'm here on the call.
Perfect. Welcome, Megha.
Welcome. I'm just gonna, I think Megha joined with my link, so I'm just gonna
Yeah,
rename her so we can recognize her on the screen. But
Yes.
Megha, we'd love to hear from you, please.
Thank you
few
so much.
words.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Divya, and apologies for the technical glitch. It from your link. But I think my name is
Probably contributed it by sending you an email with a link in it. So please, please overlook that and carry on.
great. No, thank you so much. I would really like to start by thanking the game team and the Aspire for Her team. Thank you, Ketul, Poulomi, Madhura, Ruchita, Divya, and the entire team for putting so much effort into this program. We've come to a stage where we can achieve great things together. So thank you again. I would not take a lot of time because I would let the Aspire for Her team talk about the HumSafal program in more detail. But just a little bit about the foundation. The foundation has been working in India for the last 20 years. We look at various program areas, including healthcare, financial services, agriculture. And gender equality is both a horizontal and a vertical for us, because all the work that we do in the foundation is from the gender lens, whether it's across healthcare, financial services, agriculture, etc. And we also have a vertical which focuses on women's economic empowerment and women in leadership. The intent is to get more and more women into the workforce, retain them, and also advance the leadership positions. Now, I lead the private sector engagement at the foundation, as we realize that private sector is a very, very important stakeholder in this whole target of ours. And hence, we want to see that how do we work with the private sector in order to create more and more economic opportunities for women and help them advance in their careers. We feel that hiring more women into the workforce is also a very tangible business case for the private sector enterprises. And that's what we also want to test here, where we identified that the digital platforms are an area where more and more women can participate. We want to work with the various digital platforms and partners like Aspire for Her to see how can we enable more and more women to adopt these digital technologies and business models. How do we shape the evolution of these business models so that women become an integral part of the platforms, whether as entrepreneurs or whether it's job seekers. The third is, how do you create the right product design, the right technology, again, to make the processes, make the platform, etc., more gender intentional. And that's all we want to do in a very business or market focus. So glad again. Thank you so much again, both the teams, and I'll hand it over to Ruchita to take the program forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much both for sharing your views, for also partnering with Aspire and the great vision that you have. And one of the things I think, Divya, if time prevails, if you can just, tell the audience when we were looking at the logo for HumSafal and the ideas that came in our mind and how we designed it, because we feel really happy about it. But moving on to the most
fantastic
interesting
idea,
part.
Ruchita. And when I start talking a bit about after this next exciting moment where I'm really keenly looking forward to speaking with guests, I'll definitely talk about what was our thought process when we designed the HumSafal logo. Thank you. That was a great prompt.
Because when I heard Poulomi, when I heard Megha, I said, this is exactly what came to our mind when we were thinking about the logo. Anyways, moving on to the most interesting part also, one of the things that we believe at Aspire for Her is if she can see it, she can be it. And hence, today you get to hear from some of the most inspiring founders, CEOs about their experience in building successful aggregator enterprises. For this interesting segment, I'm going to hand it over to Divya Sampath to invite our guests and take this session forward. Over to you, Divya.
Thank you so much, Ruchita. I'm very, very excited about this session. And I realize that, I don't actually want to spend too much time on my bio. All I'll say is I'm very pleased and privileged to be part of Aspire for Her. I act as an innovation advisor for the team, and I'm very, very excited to be part of the HumSafal program. Without further ado, let's invite our first very special guest, Apurva Purohit, co-founder and CEO of Azol Ventures Private Limited. Apurva, if I could request you to just unmute yourself, and we're so excited to have you with us. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today. I'm going to make a small request. Team, Farisha, Bibha, etc. If you could just briefly unspotlight Apurva, rename her on the system, and then re-spotlight her. Her name will show up correctly, I believe.
We are all Divya.
Otherwise, she's showing up as Divya Sampath. It looks like I have Divya Sampath clones all over the place. It was nothing that I apologize. It was just that I sent out a Zoom link, which was my personal meeting invite link. And I think a few folks, including Megha and Apurva, have understandably clicked on that. And they're showing up as me. I don't have a secret agenda to clone myself. So in the meantime, if you could just rename Apurva, please, and while I speak with her to save her the trouble, that would be extremely helpful. Thank you. Without further ado, Apurva, first of all, thank you so much for being with us. You obviously you have an illustrious history. You've had a very successful corporate career, and you were inspired to start Azol. We have a bunch of questions for you, but the first thing I really wanted to ask you was a little bit about your thought process. What inspired you to do this? What inspired you to start up Azol where did the idea come from?
So, all of us, after having spent so much time in the corporate world, realize that we have a wealth of experience, resources, opportunities that we got. And I think there's time to give back. What Madhura's done with Aspire for Her, what all of you all are doing. So in that sense, the thought really came that I have in my journey tried to help organizations, tried to help women, individuals in the corporate space, but there's this whole bottom of the pyramid where the inequalities just widened during the pandemic. And I think it's the job of each one of us to figure out ways and means to lift that bottom of the pyramid. And therefore, the vertical I chose was really farmer communities, self-help groups who reside in rural India. They have so much wealth of tradition, experience, history, legacy. Unfortunately, they do not have any means to connect to marketplaces. And therefore, Azol, which really means the home of your maternal grandmother. So this whole thought came about that we are all looking to go back to local traditional food items. We don't, as consumers, find places or marketplaces to access that. And there are so many lovely women who stay in remote areas. They don't have access to these consumers. So can I be the linking factor?
That's brilliant and absolutely wonderful thought process. And thank you so much for following that impulse to give back, first of all. Let me also take a step back, because again, with your depth and width of corporate experience, you have a perspective, I think, on the entire industry and the ecosystem in this country. So beyond Azol, what do you believe is the role of platforms like Azol and aggregator platforms in general to work with, exactly as you said, farmers, small entrepreneurs, people who don't necessarily have market access? What sort of role does Azol and organizations like Azol play in this ecosystem?
I think the term aggregator itself, of course, means getting everybody together, but also having a multiplier effect. So it's just not about 1 + 1 making 2, but how can 1 + 1 make 11? So I would say there are two roles that an aggregator would play. One role really would be, of course, on the demand side, to be able to connect those millions of consumers who are seeking such products, whether they be in craft or in food, and connect them with those products. On the other hand, I would say that it is also about economies of scale, equally importantly about economies of information. So how do you aggregate information, which can therefore help the small farmer in a rural area access better supply chains, better packaging solutions, better quality improvements, and put that all together so that they flourish. And I think in the earlier address, we did discuss this point that we need to create jobs where these people reside, rather than have this mass scale migration into urban areas. And aggregators using technology platforms can do this very well. So today, a woman who's sitting in Nandurbar is able to access a consumer because Azol is there. She's able to access better packaging solutions because we put together a lot of packaging solutions for her, and also the supply chain. And sitting in her village without worrying about migration, without worrying about her income has gone up threefold. I think that's the role aggregators play.
That's fantastic. And you said so many wonderful things there, Apurva, but there's one I want to pick up, which we don't, I feel, talk enough about, which is the benefit to consumers of this role that aggregators are playing. Because we often talk about, as though we're only doing this for the producers and the farmers and the small entrepreneurs, but we're also doing it for consumers, right? So could you speak a little bit about that in terms of what have you heard from you? You must have spoken to so many customers. I'm one of them. But what do consumers say about the benefits that these kinds of platforms bring to them?
There are two benefits, I would say. The first one really is this whole technological logistics revolution that has taken place in our country. Therefore, sitting in your house in 15 minutes, if you're able to get a fresh produce from anywhere, that is a big benefit for the consumer. So one is, of course, access in a speedy, efficient manner, sitting in the place that they are. The other thing is that increasingly, we do talk about the technological revolution leading to democratization of information. That today, all of us have access to lecture courses in Cambridge, and all of us have access to any kind of learning that we may want to benefit from. But I think beyond information, beyond learning, people do also want to try out different things, try out niche products or niche. Again, it could be in a service, it could be in a lecture that they want to participate in, it could be in a food product. Now, I will tell you that over the past few years, every nutritionist, every dietitian is talking about local food, food that is endemic to our region. We should eat traditional, local, nani ke ghar ka khana. Everybody's talking about it. But if you go to a shelf in a modern trade store, you will see jasmine rice from Bangkok and apples from New Zealand and cherries from Australia. Where are the local products there? So I think what aggregators are trying to do definitely is for consumers who are looking to source local traditional food, say within our country. So every shelf is full of maple syrup, but what about kakvi, which is a natural sweetener has been eaten for years and centuries in rural India? Platforms such as ours join those dots for the consumers.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a phenomenal point you're making, right? So and all of us are increasingly saying, how can we be more conscious consumers, impact the environment less? This whole cost of shipping jasmine from Thailand into Indian supermarkets, why not buy locally produced goods? And aggregators like yours bring these really high quality traditional goods, which are much more nutritious, which are so beneficial on multiple dimensions. That's such a lovely point. One final point that I want to ask you, which again, I'm sure that you were probably expecting this question. Do you fundamentally believe that it is possible to marry, as an entrepreneur yourself, to marry social purpose with profit? in an enterprise such as this? And is that the way of the future?
To my mind, no impact, no true impact can be created unless it is sustainable. We are not here to change a woman's life for one day or for 1 year. We are here to change a woman's life for herself, for her whole family, and for the generations that come after us. We are here to lift the bottom of the pyramid up. That cannot happen unless and until you yourself build a business which is scalable and sustainable. And that kind of scale and sustenance will only happen if the business is profitable. Only then will you be able to plow back that profit. Only then will you be able to scale up the marketplace creation, the supply chain creation, so that you can make impact at scale. So to my mind, the only way true impact can happen, and if it is at scale and if it is sustainable.
Again, Apurva, thank you so much for those wonderful insights. This was truly a rapid fireside chat, as we put it, but you packed so much into the 10 minutes that we had with you. I can't thank you enough. And on that note, you've said some wonderful threads that I'm going to try and pick up with our next amazing speaker, who is actually sitting in a completely different time zone. Thank you. And Ajaita, if I could request you to please unmute yourself and join the conversation, that would be fantastic. Once again, Apurva, thank you so much. That was so brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ajaita?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi. And once again, thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. Folks, I could not be more excited. I in person met Ajaita for the first time on 15 March, thanks to Game, when we were doing an official announcement of various wonderful programs under the We umbrella. And we were, to say that Madhura and I had been following Ajaita for quite a while, because she's Frontier Markets has been around and we've known of the work that Ajaita does. But she just blew us away with her energy, her enthusiasm. It was so fantastic to meet you, Ajaita. And, that was one of the best connections that came out of that day. There were so many wonderful ones, but this one we really, truly cherish. Ajaita, again, has such an incredible background. She's been working with social enterprises in rural India and building this amazing network of rural women, Sahelis, and she's been doing this for about 19 years. So the amount of time she spent on the ground with folks on the ground in rural India, understanding the problems, understanding exactly what the challenges are, what are the kinds of things that people are looking for and need in order to build these solutions. And that's what led her to start Frontier Markets. So let me actually start off with that, Ajaita. Do you want to call out you spent a lot of time in the villages on the ground with some of the people that are directly impacted or not impacted by services or the lack of services. So do you want to call out, for the benefit of our audience, 2 or 3 of the things that perhaps we as, urban metro dwellers take for granted that of true value to the folks in the villages that you work with?
Of course. And first of all, I have to say, like Divya, Madhura, obviously the fangirl thing is mutual, because I thought that was the greatest way of actually getting a chance to learn what Aspire for Her is doing. So in HumSafal, best title ever, was launched, I was like, this is a no-brainer that we're going to come together on this. So Divya, to answer your question, so the background of working in microfinance for many years before starting Frontier Markets helped me look at 2 fundamental things. One was, what are the access challenges when it comes to getting quality products and services to rural families where they live at their doorstep? And the second was, why women, right? What is it that creates women as a conduit or facilitator or a business decision that enables you to really ensure why investing in them is a smart idea? And in the context of rural India, or I like to say Bharat India, is that it's 700,000 villages, right? It's 800 million people that are fundamentally living. And if you look at this on a population size perspective, the people that are living in villages that are population sizes of under 2,000 households, they fundamentally are not getting access to products and services. What that means is that people are literally traveling minimalistically 5 to 10 to 20 kilometers, right, to get any access to any basic services, whether that's banking services, whether that's access to consumer durables, whether that's access to quality healthcare. So that gap to me was the biggest reason why we wanted to build something that can bridge it. And then last thing I'll just say is also in a perspective. A lot of times what we end up seeing is looking at this particular segment as beneficiaries versus customers. And so therefore, we're pushing solutions that we think are beneficial versus taking the time to understand who they are, what they need, what their value proposition is, and how do you really build that into a market opportunity.
That's amazing insight, Ajaita. And I'm kind of picking up some common threads. So when Apurva was speaking, for example, she talked about scale. You're talking about scale. Apurva talked about, for sustainable success to happen, we have to create jobs where people are. We can't just expect the 800 million people living in villages to migrate to cities and find jobs. That's not a scalable solution. It's not a doable solution. And Apurva also talked about the role of technology. I want to explore that with you a little bit further, because you've done something amazing with these women, right? You're using primarily smartphone technology to intermediate a lot of their participation in these services. So talk about that, if you will, and what has that experience been like, and what have been some of your learnings in the process?
So in the context of rural India in terms of infrastructure, right? What we've obviously seen is a mind-blowing shift, right, in the last 5 years in terms of internet connectivity, smartphone penetration, but also infrastructure in the sense of what government has been able to do when building the self-help group infrastructure, right? Today, you have 100 million women that are connected through an ecosystem where they have bank accounts, they have IDs, they have a connection to the villages where they actually live. So what we really did was saying, what was the pain point for them? They've learned a lot. They've been able to get socially empowered. They left their parda life and were able to actually start meeting in groups. But ultimately, they were still hungry to earn long-term, sizable, sustainable income. And fundamentally, also, many of them were entrepreneurs. Many of them were making things. Many of them had nothing to do, but they were all essentially farmers, mothers, and women that are part of a community. Leveraging that need for an income opportunity and a desire to be impact-oriented and still socially influencing, better choices for a community. And third, of course, this technology phenomena, we kind of clubbed it all together, right? And we created what we had called our Saheli initiative, which ultimately was, how do we incorporate the power of these women through the self-help group infrastructure, give them an ability to use technology. So we created an app called the Meri Saheli app, which today was first ever designed by rural women, vernacular, local, AI-enabled, that essentially allowed them to do work for the first time through a smartphone, where they're collecting data, they're doing marketing, they're showcasing products and services, they're facilitating a marketplace, they're helping other women businesses become phygital, which is kind of incredible. And I think that is really where the shift happened. So when you suddenly started giving the right tools to women that are hungry to work and also interested in creating impact, it's game-changing what can happen. So when 20,000 women today have that, you've reached out to more than 1 million families, but the data that's coming in to help you understand, what does a women farmer want? How does a mother make decisions about sanitation? What do we need in terms of consumer durables? You're suddenly becoming an asset to market players that are interested in wanting to penetrate this market, but never understood what the opportunity was. And I think that to me has been really exciting. And then again, people get really excited about our scale. And I'm like, our scale is nothing compared to what the need is, right? The need is massive. I mean, we're talking about 20,000 women entrepreneurs and 1 million families. And we just mentioned 100 million women that are part of infrastructure. So there's a lot more we can do, but the opportunity is very rich. And you can bring technology and the need together to unlock that.
And again, we could talk about this for hours, as you know, Ajaita, we've done this literally in Delhi. But final question, because I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the exciting initiatives that you've just announced. So for example, talk to us a little bit about She Leads Bharat and the partnerships with which you're doing some interesting things that are coming up.
Well, this is, of course, in partnership with We and Game, and of course, like our entire world coming together. But just a simple perspective of what we've learned is that in order to truly achieve scale, it's about partnership and coalition development. And so She Leads Bharat was something that we announced at Davos 2 years ago at the World Economic Forum, where it was, how do we bring together the right partners to essentially make sure that we can do exponential scale? So She Leads Bharat is an initiative that is catalytic capital, it's technology, and it's incubation. And what we're basically doing is now bringing together ecosystem players like Game, like Aspire for Her,
Axion, Women's World Banking, like you name it, who also then have partners that have been working with women collectives on the ground. And how do we come together where our technology and our know-how plus capital can make us scale much faster? So in the next year, what you'll see is that we're targeting 100,000 women entrepreneurs to reach 10 million families, but then get to 1 million entrepreneurs reaching 100 million families by 2030, where really it's about she leading Bharat, right? And looking at this in a really larger context. But then the power of platform for us is what we really care about, which is where, what happens when the voices of 1 million, 10 million women and women entrepreneurs are being heard collectively to technology. You can really design for change. You suddenly dictate how financial services should be created. What are the products and services that should be introduced into the market, and really bringing the power of that voice back, but through a collective. I'm super excited about our partnership with Game through the We Initiative, because of course, what this does is it allows us to bring together not just the work that we do on the ground, but the right common partners like all of you guys, and then also thinking through policy and thinking through where the role of catalytic capital can come in. What are the learnings? And for me, you know that I'm a global person. So the chance of being able to demonstrate India as the role model for the global South is the thing that really gets us excited. So when we say she leads Bharat, actually it's she leading Bharat to teach the world how she can lead the world globally, right? Like that's the excitement that comes together.
I absolutely love that. And I'm just incredibly struck by the power of 1 million voices of these women and the change that it can bring. And on that note, thank you so much. I know you have to run, Ajaita, for your next appointment, and we're very, very grateful that you're doing this for us in the midst of your packed meeting schedule. Thanks once again. Some incredible thoughts, and again, some threads that I hope to be able to pick up with our next amazing speaker, who's Yosha Gupta from myriad.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey,
and once again, just quickly, congratulations to you all. This is awesome.
Oh,
and looking forward to seeing you all in India very soon. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thanks again. Thanks so much for doing this. Cheers. Absolutely amazing insights again from Ajaita. This segment, I kept talking about how excited I was to hear from our speakers. And, if we had more time, I could talk to each of them for hours. But without further ado, let me introduce Yosha Gupta, who's our next amazing speaker. We've had the privilege at Aspire for Her for being part of the first Google India cohort of women founders. Mimraki was one of our fellow cohort members. In that cohort, we're very proud of that fact, and that's where we first met Yosha and the Mimraki team. We're excited to have her with us at this launch event. And she has another amazing story to tell, right? I mean, so Yosha was inspired again. What you're finding is common threads about people being inspired to give back. And Yosha was inspired in this very specific way, which I thought was exciting, because you've often talked to her about pandemic. You were sort of even more motivated to say, there's all of these amazing heritage artisans who are suffering even more during the pandemic, because even the normal access that they have, little access, is getting cut off. There's got to be something they can do. And so talk a little bit about what are some of the first things you did to actually reach out to the artisans? Where did you get started with myriad? And where did the genesis of this really come from? What are the first communities that you started working with? And how did you get myriad started?
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Such inspiring speakers already. And this whole program is so exciting. I mean, I wish I had this when I started my journey. So very, very excited for all the women entrepreneurs who are going to be part of this program. And thank you for having me here, Divya. How did myriad start? I think I manifested it. I mean, my background has been in fintech. So I've always worked in fintech, actually. So hearing Ajaita speak was quite exciting. It's and I've actually done a lot of work in gender intersection in fintech as well. So it was, I'm like, amazing. This is like literally like the kind of work I've done earlier. But myriad, I was always very drawn to traditional art. And, I always had it in my home. I was part of a volunteer community called SPICMICAY, Society for Promotion of Indian Classical Music and Culture Amongst Youth. And I used to organize events for them in Hong Kong. I lived in Hong Kong for 13 years, Australia for 2.5 years. I've just come back to India. Very excited to be back. So yeah, I mean, I kind of had a small network of artists, because of that involvement with SPICMICAY. And as a passion project, I'd started myriad working on a few products, hand-painted products. But the mission and vision is pretty much exactly what it was when I started it as a passion project as well. That I felt that, our master artists, our, heritage and culture has no representation online. They have no voice or presence in the online world. Hence, no one knows about them and they don't have access to the new digital consumer of today, right? So that's how it started, and that's still the vision, the vision and mission of our business. But during the pandemic, I mean, whatever little work we were doing with our artists, basically who was buying products during that time, right? So that completely vanished. And like you were saying that, their regular sources of sales was basically either them going for small exhibitions and craft bazaars once in a couple of months, or people coming over to their, town or village as part of tourism, and none of that was happening, right? So I literally started getting calls from some of them that, can you lend us some money? We'll give it back later. And they're proud people, right? For them to ask for help. I mean, the word help and support is thrown around too much in the world of, arts and crafts, but this was really desperate times, right? So I felt like, oh my God, we need to try some experiments right now. So literally we launched these online art workshops as a pure experiment that, let's get people to experience what, the power of technology, basically, right? That the artist is sitting in a small village, let's say, a Patachitra artist is sitting in Raghurajpur, or a Gond artist is sitting in a village in Bhopal. And we started hosting these online art workshops, and that just completely took off, because I think it was a time when people were also at home. They didn't really have too much to do. And this aspect of, really building the community, that like-minded people coming together, learning from a master artist, having a conversation during those workshops, that really helped to build the community. And that's when I realized, oh my God, this is what we should be doing, because this is where I can really leverage my experience and my background working in tech, working in fintech, using technology better, actually, rather than creating products, because actually the artists are creating beautiful products already. The bigger problem was problem of access and making sure that, they have a voice and presence in the online world, with their name being spotlighted, their work being spotlighted, because while designers might be working with artists, but their name always gets, lost in the scheme of things. So yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah, no, and it's amazing, Yosha. And there's one thing that I'd like to explore with you a little bit more, because you started talking about the different things that myriad is doing. Of course, you're providing market access to these artisans and artists, and finding the ways to sell their products. You're also the amazing idea of actually the master classes with the artists started during the pandemic. But you're also now actually coaching and training and equipping these traditional artisans to leverage digital technologies to spread their voice further, right? So talk a little bit about that, because I think that's, people talk about skill building, but they generally talk about the artisans' traditional skills. You're talking about a whole different category of skill building with these folks, right? Talk a bit more about that.
Yeah. So I think the large part of our focus has been around making sure we can educate people about their work better. So, even something as simple as hosting an online workshop, right? Like, how does Zoom work? How do you spotlight your, screen? How do you make sure it's at the right angle? How do you make sure, there's light, falling on it? How do you make sure you give feedback to people during a workshop, right? Like swipe through. It's simple, small things, honestly, but it literally used to take a few calls for us to kind of do this training again and again, right? To get it right? And now from doing workshops, then we moved on to like even helping them sell their art through our platform. So our platform is we realize that actually ultimately these artists are a one-man army or a two-people army, right? That they're creating their work, they're doing the sales as well. It's impossible to imagine that they can manage like listing on different online platforms, doing the photography, doing the, write-ups, doing pricing and all of that. So ultimately we need to be the one platform enabling them to either teach their art or sell their art, both of those things, right? So then from just like, training around using technology for, let's say, hosting a workshop, even the soft skills of hosting a workshop, to now, working with them to, okay, how can you do photography better? While we also now, our team visits them in person, we do all, online cataloging, photography of their work, content creation, like teaching them what kind of things do people want to see, on Instagram, on social media? What are those small little, ways that, what are the trends going on in social media, like trending music, if they have their social media accounts, or if they don't have their social media accounts, now actually we even help them manage their social media accounts other than our own Instagram account as well, right? So we are helping them co-manage multiple social media accounts for multiple artists as well, and all of the tips and tricks around content creation, right? Like everything basically that you can imagine is involved in kind of digitally upskilling artisans. Basically, I wish we were doing it in a more organized fashion. I mean, I hope we'll get there where we have one team which is just focused on training artisans. I mean, that's one of our aims. Right now, it's business as usual, and we kind of do this as part of our regular work. So our content creation team will do the training around, content creation. Our artist onboarding team will kind of do the training around photography, etc., etc. But yeah, I really hope that we can create a team just focused on digitally upskilling artisans properly.
That would be fantastic. And again, I want to share with you, Yosha, because we sort of exchanged some of our challenges at the Google cohort.
Yeah.
Exchanging ideas, for example, with frontier markets and how they're actually handling the skilling of
Yeah.
their Saheli network and stuff. I think there's a lot that this ecosystem can all learn from each other.
Can
That's
learn
part of the
from each
program.
other, for sure, for
It's
sure.
like,
Instead of
Google
reinventing the
and-
wheels, that's exactly what we need.
Again, game has made a lot of magical connections for us happen. So hopefully
Yeah.
that is something that will work for you as well in future, Yosha. More than happy to make that connect for you.
Absolutely. Would
And on
love
that
that.
note, Yosha, one final question for you. What are you most excited about in the coming year for Miraki?
Oh, we've just hit 100,000 mark on our Instagram. I hope like the next growth phase of 1 million can happen much faster, because honestly, it's just so magical. Like, when some of our content has gone viral, we've had reels which have done 10 million views. But more than the virality, it's the comments that we see under these reels, right? Like people, the respect and understanding of what is actually involved in each of these arts and crafts, right? Like it's amazing the kind of comments that come. Like some people have even said, henceforth, I'm never going to bargain again with an artisan. And I'm like, yes, exactly. That's exactly what we're out to do. So yeah, I mean, basically the same mission that we have, but amplifying that much faster and 10x in the next year is what I'm excited about. That, like from 100,000 to 1 million on our Instagram, from 500 artists who we work with right now to like 5,000 artists by the end of the year, hopefully, because we're using technology more and more in order to like really streamline our supply side as well. Till now we've used technology really well on our demand side, but now it's about the supply chain as well, that how can we use technology better. Like we can't scale if we keep doing everything ourselves. Like I was saying, that we can't like be onboarding every artist if we have to get to 5,000 50,000 artists at some point. So that's where we now need to start equipping the artists with some technology on their own as well to be able to do this on our platform, right? So yes, just hoping for bigger impact numbers in this year.
That's amazing, Yosha. Needless to say, we're all cheering for you, especially your friends at Aspire for Her. Hoping you get to that number as quickly as you want, that 5,000 artisans number as quickly as you want. But thank you so much for candidly opening up about the challenges that aggregators like yourself face when you're dealing with networks like because that is one of the subcategory of challenges that we're hoping to find answers together through the HumSafal Accelerator program. And we're definitely aiming to find those some of those solutions and share what we learn, not only with our immediate first cohort of aggregators who are selected to join, but also with the world at large. So with that, I know you're kind of signaling me to keep on time, so I will very quick once again thank you, Yosha. Thank you, Ajaita.
It was amazing, and good luck to all of you guys. I mean, yeah, brilliant effort, and really hope lots of women entrepreneurs can benefit from this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Yosha. Once again, I could not, a huge vote of thanks to our special speakers, Apurva, Ajaita, and Yosha, who've given us a real insight into what aggregator success looks like, but the challenges that come with it, and their perspective and knowledge from their insights of having worked in the sector for a while. With that, a few details about HumSafal and the Accelerator program and where you can find out more information about it. So HumSafal is an accelerator program that we co-created along with Game and with some of the targeted beneficiaries of this program. We've been talking to aggregators for several months now. We've tried to understand some of their challenges and problems on the ground while we were putting together this program. And we're trying to address some of those over the 6 months that we will be working with folks during this program. In summary, we're looking to impact 10,000 entrepreneurs through 7 selected aggregators over 6 months of this program. We're going to work to provide tailored and customized guidance as well as general capacity building. We're bringing the best of what our partner ecosystem brings to the table, whether it's e-commerce enablement on major platforms like Amazon, ONDC enablement, payment structure enablement for those of the cohort who needed some guidance in terms of how to approach overseas markets, supply chain optimization, help around legal and compliance support and how to access it. How do you access simple bookkeeping and accounting services? All of that is stuff that we're packing into this program, which is absolutely it's absolutely free for participants. It's also equity free. So we're not asking you to give us a stake in your organization in order to benefit from this program. Thanks to our partners at Game who are making this possible. So you can find out much more about the program at aspireforher.com/HumSafal. And you're going to see that URL in the chat window as well, thanks to our hardworking AFH team who are going to post that URL in there for you. I'll just kind of quickly go over the eligibility criteria. You can be each aggregator program needs to be registered in India in one of the states and union territories. You can be a for-profit or a non-profit. You need to have a minimum of 500 members. You should have been in existence for at least a year, and you should be making some revenues and passing on some monies to the members on your platform. And needless to say, all of the data that you provide us during the application process needs to be auditable and verifiable. We will be giving extra points during the selection process, which is going to be a juried selection process, evaluation based on very objective criteria and a jury selection. We will give extra points to anyone who has a woman founder or co-founder in the aggregator platform. We will definitely give you extra points if 60% of your entrepreneurs are women, 60% or more. We'll definitely give you extra points if 40% or more are non-metro based entrepreneurs as well. You will be able to also find you've got the link on the screen, and the Aspire for Her team will also post a direct link to the application form should you wish to. Though I do encourage you to go to the landing page and read up about the program. It will answer a lot of the remaining questions you have about it. And then you can find a link to the application form saying apply here. That apply now button, it will work. And we hope to see your applications come in by 30th April. With that, let me wrap up and hand back to Ruchita. I know I've taken 2 extra minutes, Ruchita. My apologies, but I'm handing back to you now.
No, that's absolutely fine. I just wanted everybody to, finish with the polls. And Farisha, if you can just launch the poll, because I'm requesting everybody to stay on and just complete the poll, because it also helps us understand how much you like the program, what is it that we have to design, and how do we move forward. So requesting everybody to please put in, there are just 4 questions. All you have to do is just tick a few of them, and it doesn't take much time. And congratulations on finally launching it. Looks like a wonderful initiative. And actually, with each of them, I had something. So when I was just recently, last week, I received a hamper home, and I was so happy to see, one of the packs from Azul, which was there. So which I realized that there is definitely some good work, and Azul was one of the packs in the hamper. In terms of actually me, Meraki, it's coincidental, but one of my friends just called me sometime back, and she said she's been painting, but she doesn't know how to go about. She just gets some orders at home, and I thought this is perfect a platform for her. But of course, she's one of the urban women, not one of the rural women who's there. And each of them are doing some fantastic work and, creating such huge impact.
Not to Meraki sound too much, but I do want to remind you, Meraki offers online art classes and workshops with master artisans. So I just wanted to remind you that that's available if your friend is interested in exploring.
I actually already sent her the link to the website saying that please go and see, and if you want, this is where you should be moving on. So I do understand.
Products, especially the pickles, are just amazing.
I'm looking forward to seeing how many entrepreneurs come into the system, and how we'll be spoiled for choice in terms of ordering what we need to. So that's about it. So I think I'm waiting for another 30 seconds, and I see only 22 people who filled in the poll, and I see 50 in the participants list. So requesting few more to please do this. And then after that, I think we're done for today's launch, and we look forward to the applications coming in. And very soon we'll be announcing who the selected cohort. Divya, I think you forgot
while
about
we keep
the
the poll
logo.
open, I just wanted to call out a few, if I may, Ruchita. I just want to highlight a few things that stood out to me from the wonderful things that our speakers said. Some common threads that emerged, and I'll also take this opportunity, as you suggested, to explain the thinking behind HumSafal and the logo, the 7 joined hands, right? So we were definitely, as we designed this program from the beginning, we had a few thoughts very clearly in mind. One is the power of collective action. That solving problems together brings more energy. That is something that we heard from each of our wonderful speakers as well, right? Those really stuck out. A lot of the themes that we recognized along with game while we were designing the program also kind of stood out to me when Apurva talked about the importance of giving back, but also the importance of building sustainable solutions. And therefore not neglecting the fact that, the profit motive can coexist with doing good in the world. And no sort of social purpose or social impact is sustainable without having a good business model behind it. and creating jobs for people where they are and not expecting them to move to the metro cities for jobs and to find, for entrepreneurs to be successful. And she talked about scale and technology, and Ajaita did such a fantastic job of actually driving home to us just how large that scale is. And even when we look at Ajaita's organization and say, wow, your numbers, and she reminded us of how much more there is left to do and that we need to collectively do as an ecosystem to address these issues. And Yosha talked about, of course, her personal passion, but I love the way where she's actually talking about using technology, not just to sell products, but also to enable the artisans and artists themselves in new ways. So all of those amazing things that stood out to me. But I really found a common thread about collective action and the power of, as Ajaita said, the power of 1 million voices and the change that it can bring. So hopefully the power of, 10,000 entrepreneurs and the change that they can bring to the ecosystem is something we can all look forward to. I'd stop there, Ruchita. I think the numbers are slowly climbing, but plateauing as well in terms of board responses. Back to you.
I think we are bang on time. And with this, I'd like to thank everybody who's been a part of today's session. And we are looking forward to the applications. If you think you don't fit in, it's okay. Just see people around you and wherever the ecosystem can help. I think we've got about 27 entries. That's good enough. Thank you so much, Parisha. We can end the poll. Thank you and have a good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Thank you. Thank you, Divya. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Game Team. Thank you, Megha. Thank you to all of our wonderful speakers, Apurva, Yosha, and Ajaita, and everyone else who joined the call. Thanks so much. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
And we are on.